Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon to everyone. This is Dr. Muhammad Safdar Bhatti from the Islamic University of Bahawalpur, Pakistan. First of all, I would like to thank the whole symposium team in general and Dr. Umaira Hashim in particular for providing me this chance to present my talk at this forum. And the topic of my presentation is Role of Code Mixing in Punjab Textbooks and Teachers' Perspectives, a survey. And that is a brief sketch of my talk. Respected audience, Pakistan's national language is Urdu. Besides Urdu, many regional languages are spoken, giving a multilingual status to the country. At the same time, English being an official language enjoys a supreme status in the society. This supremacy of English language, imperialism of Western culture, negligence of the government in making a language policy, the attitude and response of the society towards English language has originated the phenomena of code mixing in public daily communication. Books play an effective role in the development of overall language proficiency, but at the same time has increased the phenomena of code mixing as being noticed in various researches made in the field. In a multilingual society, though, the process is unavoidable but alarming and has given rise to issues and questions. There is a need to check and take notice against it as it is rapidly changing Urdu language. Dear audience, Pakistan is a country where textbooks enjoy central position in the process of teaching and learning. In schools especially, they are considered as the hub of entire knowledge of the subject matter. The processes of their complication and publication require a great deal of attention. At the same time, their evaluation and development need careful and constant scrutiny. Code mixing is termed as intra-sententional switching. In code mixed sentences, pieces of one language are embedded in the other language, while a speaker is basically using the other language. These pieces of the other language are often words, but they can also be phrases or longer units. Textbooks generally are being sources of information for students of every age group. They help to provide a particular worldview to the pupils. It is necessary to offer a good piece of knowledge about the subject to whom they are concerned. According to this research, using code switching to develop learning vocabulary, calm learners, review assigned work, and build interaction with students is beneficial for teachers and the students. As far as textbooks of language are concerned, they demonstrate linguistic norms of the society which are to be transmitted. They are not only the source of information, but also a radical tool of learning. The youth learns the language in a formal setting with the help of prescribed books which are based on their pre-planned syllabi. The primary aim of switching and mixing codes amongst multilingual speakers is essentially communicative, a strategy to ease communication in the fastest and most efficient manner. Code mixing is a mixing of two codes or languages, usually without a change of topic. Code mixing is found mainly in informal interactions. In formal situations, the speaker tends to mix it because there is no exact idiom in that language. So it is necessary to use words or idioms from other language. Code mixing is an interesting phenomena in bilingual societies. It leads to language hybridization that in turn gives birth to the issues of language maintenance, shift, and desertion. Basically, code switching occurs when during conversation, speakers use both languages together to the extent that they shift from one language to the other in the course of a single utterance. In code mixing, sentences, pieces of one language are used while a speaker basically using another language. There are three types of code mixing: intra-lexical code mixing, intra-sententional code mixing, and involving a change of pronunciation. Role of code mixing in Punjab textbooks. Dear audience, textbooks generally are being sources of information for the students in every group. They help to provide a particular worldview to the pupils. It is necessary to offer a good piece of knowledge about the subject to whom they are concerned. Textbooks, according to Chambliss and Kefley, are collections of new and exciting understanding of fantastic experiences. They serve as a chief means of supplying content information and a basic tool in the process of teaching and learning. They also validate social and educational norms and transmit them to the whole children in all classrooms. As far as textbooks of language are concerned, they demonstrate linguistic norms of the society which are to be transmitted. Textbooks are not only the source of information, but also a radical tool of learning. Textbooks of a language, especially, are some big heritage of that language that are used to maintain the purity of the language. The youth learns a language in a formal setting with the help of prescribed books which are based on their pre-planned syllabi. If we talk about the significance of the study, this study of phenomena of code mixing in Urdu medium textbooks is of immense importance in a country like Pakistan, where many languages are spoken and phenomena of code mixing is very common. It helped in understanding the socio-linguistic culture in the country. This research was also significant as it pointed out the fact that media has no fixed language policy. The reporters are using English language on their own convenience. The objectives of my study were to examine the effects of code mixing on the learning process, to gauge the utility of code mixing in Punjab textbooks, to observe the phenomena of whether code mixing is making Urdu language vast and flexible or declining its individuality, to check whether Urdu language is sufficient enough to give equivalent of the inserted English language words. My research questions were, is code mixing prevalent in Urdu medium Punjab textbooks? If so, to what extent? What type of code mixing is used in the Punjab textbooks? At what level? Is Urdu language sufficient enough to give equivalent of inserted English language words? Is code mixing in textbooks making Urdu language more flexible, or it is progressively declining Urdu language? Now I would like to move towards the literature review. Code switching is the juxtaposition within the same speech exchange of passage of speech belonging to two different grammatical systems of subsystems. The use of two language varieties in the same variation, and code switching alludes to the interchanging of two languages together while speaking. Doran argued, code switching implies some degree of competence in the two languages, even if bilingual fluency is not yet stable. Code mixing is when someone uses one word or phrase from one language to another language, and code switching is when the language is arranged structurally and grammatically in other language. In Pakistan, English-Urdu code switching is used in the formal and informal discussion of educated bilingual presenters. Bilingual speakers may start the conversation with one language and switch to another language, depending upon the attitude of the partner or his code selection. 50 teachers from Bahawalpur, Pakistan participated in this study. They all were belonging to Government ST High School, Bahawalpur. If we talk about the research methodology, it was descriptive in nature and survey-based, and quantitative approach was basically based on the random sampling. A questionnaire for the teachers was used as a tool to collect the data from the respondents. And these are some factors which I deduced from the collected data. Code switching, 98% teachers agreed. Comfort level, 100% agreed. Code mixing, 80% agreed. And motivation, 99% agreed. Improved the learning, 98% teachers were agreed. And that is a graphic description of my data. Dear audience, code mixing occurs when a bilingual speaker fails to converse comprehensively in one language. Sometimes code mixing of a word occurs because it is shorter and thus requires less linguistic effort. Books are a feature of any society, therefore it reflects back the contemporary literary practices. The phenomena of code mixing is a part and parcel of a bilingual society which enables bilingual speakers to converse conveniently. To differentiate the process of code mixing, Fernando states, code mixing is not a permanent borrowing or a part of a lexicon, but is used spontaneously and depends on meaningful juxtaposition of two distinct grammatical systems. Code mixing is limited to single words or idiomatic phrases. Now I am going to conclude my talk. From the analysis, it is concluded that code mixing is now a common practice and a common trend among books developers, especially with the reference to the Punjab textbook board. Books and curricular developers often code mixed at various places and sometimes in very odd way. The current study was an attempt to highlight how English code mixing has infiltrated into Urdu textbooks. This has serious implication for the status of Urdu as our national language that represents our national identity. The textbook writers need to consider the implications of code mixing. If we start using English words for which common Urdu equivalents exist, we would be jeopardizing the fate of such Urdu words. Now, in the end, I would like to give you some suggestions and recommendations. Dear audience, the quantity and quality of code mixing in our textbooks shows that the need to guard against it. If the textbook boards continue this practice of substituting English words and discarding Urdu equivalents, it will be approximate to language desertion, and the desertion can eventually lead to language death. This situation, if allowed to persist, is bound to have serious ideological impacts that relate to our national identity and integration. The textbook boards need to have their materials reviewed and appraised to avoid such pitfalls. Textbook writers need to be trained in this regard and alerted to the implications of excessive and unnecessary use of code mixing. We, as educationists of Pakistan, need to evolve a coherent policy for this purpose. Before launching books in institutions, pilot studies should be conducted. In this way, book compilers can get the idea about how far books are effective and what kind of effects it is shedding not only on Urdu but also on English. And these were some references from which I got the help. And thanks for your patience. And any question, please. So once again, I am going to thank the whole team for providing me this chance to give this talk at this forum. So thank you very much for your nice cooperation. Assalamu alaikum and very good afternoon.